Knight into e4 was played. Knight into e4, bishop into e4. So now we have a position where black will also try to play something like this, but right now there are some threats on this h7 point, because knight e5 and again queen h5 can be a problem. So okay, can you hear me, guys? I'm sorry for the lag. Yes, North Junction, white has more space, and I'll just share this link with. Okay, so here the plan is easy for white. You can just play queen c2 or knight g5 and queen h5, or even just play rook e1, get the bishop out to g5, or maybe b3, bishop b2, and then rook d1. So all of this is white's plan, and it's very easy for white to play here. Black played h6 in order to prevent any threats on this h7 point, and now bishop c2 was played by Humpy. So here the idea is pretty clear. She wants to play queen d3 and threaten here, also rook d1, and she wants to prevent any f5 or e5 sort of moves, or even c5 for that matter. So in order to play this was a prophylactic move, so in order to play attacking, she just plays bishop c2 in order to play queen d3, or even b3 and then bishop b2. So the bishops will be very active on the diagonals. e5 was played, so even black wants to break the center and he also wants to attack. So Gregorian Irina plays e5 in order to play queen c7, and maybe later on she can play knight f6 or exchange of this knight d7 and knight f3 to create some weakness on this point. Just a moment, guys. Okay. So here e5 was played, and now b3. As I mentioned, white here wants to play bishop b2 and attack on this g7 at 7 points. A into d4 was played, and now queen into d4. So already white is active here. Rook d1 is already a threat. Bishop b2 and queen g7 is already a threat, and queen d3 has still not been prevented by black. So bishop c5 was played, and now you just play queen c3. So you're keeping an eye on this g7 square, and also you're making sure that you've vacated this d file so that the rook can take over. Rook e8 was played. She just developed her rook. Also some escape square for the king, and also bishop f8 can be played in order to protect this. Bishop b2 was played, and now Irina played knight f6, and here black is already slightly minus. Here bishop f8 would have been problematic because of rook a d1, and the knight is pinned. Bishop f5 is coming up, even something like knight e5. So black is already lost here. Knight f6 was played, and now Humpy just plays b4. So she's trying to play on both sides. She has this break in mind, and also she wants to play on this diagonals here. Rook a d1, queen c7, queen d3, and as you can see, can you spot the threat here, guys? Yes, Rahul, you're right. This bishop here doesn't have a square. You're right, Vijay. And now the idea is bishop into f6, and queen h7 is again a threat because you've destroyed the defender on f6. So queen d3 was played for that. And Irina here resigned because there is nothing better. She can play something like this, and then takes this, and here she couldn't see one defense. Actually, there was a defense which she couldn't see, and she resigned. So she must have regretted it later on. But the problem is I can play rook f1 here, and bishop e6 was the move that she missed. So that was Humpy's game, and Irina lost very quickly. Let's see the next game. So this was played between Harika, Kurbunova, Sarvenos and Harika. So Harika was black. d4, d5. Yes, Vijay, that must be embarrassing to resign in a drawn, like, equal position. c4, e6, knight c3, and bishop b4 was played. cd5, ed5, knight f3, knight f6, bishop g5, h6, bishop into f6, queen into... all of this is theory. Queen e4, knight c6, and now knight e5 was played. Again, this is theory. There is no threat here because even if you castle and after takes, you can just play bishop into c3 and you're not losing this bishop. So check, then b into c3, b into c6, and the plan with black here is to take control of this b file. Even white will try to do the same since it's an open file, and black will try to play rook e8, then he will try to get his bishop. Even the queen will go to d6. c5 break can be there because you have to make sure that the pawn structure is getting solved by c5. Yes, you're right. Black should capture, and right now it's forced. If you don't capture on c3, you're losing this piece because this is under attack. So you have to capture. e3 was played so that the bishop can be improved. Bishop d3 and then castle. And now queen g6 was played for the very same reason, to prevent this move or this move, so that if the bishop is developed, then you can capture on g2. g2 is hanging. Rook c1 was played, and now rook b8. So the idea is that when she has already played rook c1, you can either play rook b2 or you can play rook b1. So with rook b2, you can control the 7th rank, and you're not really afraid of white capturing on e7. You're giving up that pawn for counter attack and a lot of activity. c4 was played, and now you again play rook b1. So this rook here is not doing much. This rook is slightly active, and it could cause some problems on the c file. So you try to exchange the active rook here. Queen d1 was played, and now there was one interesting move which Harika missed, and she did not play that. She could have played rook b2 now. The idea being to play bishop g4 on the next move, or capture here, and also this f2 pawn is under a lot of attack after rook b2. Bishop g4 was played, which is also a good move and can be played because the queen can't go back here. The rook loses its support. So if queen d2, then you can play just this move. So you're threatening rook into c1, and then rook b1. That is something that he cannot really prevent, because bishop d3, you just take here and then you lose this bishop. So f3 was played instead of that. And now again this move was played. So the idea is same: rook into c1, queen into c1, and then rook b1. Curious Vijay, f3 was played in the game. Rook f b8, king f2. King f2 is sort of forced, because how else will you prevent rook into c1, right? e4 can be played to block the queen. But again, I can just play rook b2 and I can give up this, because if you capture, then I have this move. And bishop e2, I can play rook e8. So this bishop will be lost, and black is obviously better here. So e4 was not played and king f2 was played. And now Harika played rook at b2, but rook 1 b2 was also fine. It was almost as good as rook at b2. Yeah, Rahul, rook e8 is good. But here black suddenly gives this bishop e2 to white. So this move can solve a lot of problems. If rook e1 and king g1 is allowed, then white is probably alright. So rook 1 b2 was slightly better, because after bishop e2, this move, and rook e1, you can play this bishop c2, and white doesn't have rook into b1. So that's the reason, that's the only difference between rook 8 b2 and rook 1 b2. Rook 8 b2 was played, and then bishop e2 was played. And here Harika played bishop f5. Again we have a similar situation to what I just told you, but the only difference is that rook is on b1. So right now here she can capture, like it's not possible because rook h1 will be lost, but rook on b1 is not doing much. Rook on b8 was slightly better, so that's the only difference. Rook e1 again to guard against this threat and support e2, also to get the king to safety by king g1, so artificial castling. Rook into c1, queen into c1, and now rook c2 was played. So rook c2 is a good move because it restricts white's activity. It gives a threat on the queen. The queen has to decide where it wants to move. If it goes to this square, then you can play bishop d3, and again there are two attacks here. So even if he plays king g1, still he is not solving any problems. Queen a3 was played. So white here decided that he can do something with queen e7, or he can still prevent bishop d3 by having some protection against d3 square. This is a pin. So basically skewer is when a higher rated piece is in between, and you are losing. For example, if there was a queen here, it would be a pin again. But if the position of king and bishop is exchanged, then it could be called as a skewer, because the piece in between is basically a higher rated piece. So if the piece in between is a higher rated piece, it's called a skewer, and if the piece in between is a lower rated piece compared to the piece behind, then it is called a pin. Bishop d3 was played, queen into a7, and now can you guess? It's an easy move, I'll just tell you. Bishop into c4 was played. So now rook into a2 is a threat. Again, this move is a constant threat, because after bishop into e2, king into e2, g2 pawn is also hanging. Queen a3 was played again, because white doesn't know what to do here. He's already minus and he wants to keep his queen close. Rook into a2, queen c3, and now c5 was played. c5 is a good move because suddenly you clear the way for this queen and you can get it to either b6 or a6, and you're simultaneously attacking on this pawn. So you're opening up the position, and this king will be slightly weak when this is opened up. D into c5 was played in the game, and now can you spot the winning move? Yes, nerd junction, you're right. Queen a6 is the winning move, and now white loses this piece because it cannot be protected by any other piece, and there are the queen cannot protect, and already there are 3 attackers and just 2 defenders. Queen can no longer protect this bishop, and black wins the game. So this was about today, guys. I just analyzed 2 games by the top female players in India, that is Harika and Humpy. So tomorrow again we'll see a few games, maybe Anand's game, and let's see, tomorrow again we'll go for different games, and probably we'll have a guest with us tomorrow. Good luck, guys. Take care. Good night.